Hello and welcome to the Making It podcast for episode 21. And it is crazy to think that we are 21 episodes in. It's a theme that's run out throughout the whole podcast is how much we talk about, how many episodes in we are. We appreciate all the support on all the episodes. Listen to the latest Making It Moments podcast hosted by Dan with a brilliant chap called Harrison. Really good chat. And that is now available wherever you get your podcasts, well, Spotify and YouTube. But we're here after another big week. I'd say a little bit less stressful than last week.
Oh, 100%. And if you're wondering why we're dressed like idiots, it's Jamie's leaving today.
I forgot to mention.
Like we mentioned last week. So have a guess who Jamie is. He's Steve Irwin and I'm a koala bear. So we thought, you know what? Why not dress up a bit silly today?
Did you forget who Steve Irwin was?
I never knew who he was, to be honest. I've heard his name before, but...
Do you know who Steve Irwin is? Like, comment down below, because I think he's one of the most rememberable people ever.
I've had a couple of good conversations this week, brother.
Okay.
Start of the week.
With Steve Irwin? Oh.
Having it right now.
Okay.
Start of the week, I met with a coffee for a chat.
By the way, can I just say before he starts, he's worried that I wouldn't be as sharp as I usually am because I had a few beers last night to celebrate me going. And he started with that. Can't worry about it.
Last night I had a coffee with Michael, had a football at the uni, and it was just really good because he answered a lot of questions I kind of needed answering, a lot of unanswered questions that I had, and it made me realise with coaching, with my first season, it's been great, but I didn't get the results, but I've learnt so much from doing it, and I'm just really looking forward to the steps to come. And I also had a conversation with David Charlton. Shout out to David Charlton because he's a great bloke, and he met with me to have a conversation about sports psychology. He's already established in the field. I mentioned him before, but I think conversations are such a great way to learn. I think for the listener, if you're trying to get into anything, you're trying to make it in anything, speak to somebody who's already made it in what you want to make it in. Go for a coffee with that person, build rapport with that person, build a relationship, learn from them, because if they've already done it, they've got so much to give. I mean, what sort of conversations have you had with people which, in that sort of setting where someone's already made it and when you make it and it's just really giving you that kick?
Everything. I'm a gardener is one of my day jobs. This is a shout out to Craig because I know that Craig does listen, and it made me laugh because Craig's like, I can't believe you two, you're giving out life advice at such a young age.
Shout out Craig.
But Craig and all the lads at Landmark who I'm leaving the week after next, they've all taught me lessons about a job that I hadn't known about. And they've all made it in that respect of that's their job, that's their career, and they've made it to professional status, and they always teach me new things about it. And that's the kind of key one from this week. That meant a lot. When I'm in the garden with Craig and I'm learning new things from him, that means a lot because he knows his stuff and he's been doing this for such a long time, and he's passing on that knowledge. So that knowledge transfer is actually something I wanted to kind of talk about, because conversations that come with people that are, you want to talk to before are amazing. People that you organise to speak to. But those random conversations that come about are amazing.
I was hoping you mentioned this because I was about to say, if we're on the topic of conversations, You've got to mention, because he called me yesterday and he was just buzzing, absolutely buzzing over what he's about to say. And it's for something so small to make an impact on someone's day, it just proves what a conversation can do. It
can. So I just finished doing another day of commentary. So it's my last pro commentary before the big Australia trip. And I got the taxi to Birmingham International Airport, and all the trains are messed up again. And I'm like, I've got no luck at the moment with trains. It just wasn't my day. And as I'm waiting to get the next train, there's a guy there who's also waiting for the same train. And he's like, what train are you getting? I'm like, the New Street one. He said, which platform? I said, platform 2. And he says, have you just come from being on holiday? Because I had my bag with me and stuff. And I was like, oh no, I've just been to work and stuff. And we kind of got talking, and shout out to Dixon because he's a great guy, really great guy. Comes from Italy, and we got talking, and he tells me about what work he does. So he works in Forex. That's what he does full time now. But he used to be a chef at the Hilton, and he's done loads of different things throughout his life. But we got speaking, got on the train together, and there was more delays, so we had a long journey. And as we're having a chat on the train about just anything really, more travelling, there's a girl in the corner of the because the bit where you stand, so you can get on the train through the doors, and then you've got the seats that way. But there's always that little like sort of conclave where you can, just chat. Well, me and him were stood there, and there was these two other women there, and one of the women turned round because we were talking about eating insects. We were talking about eating crickets. Like, have you ever eaten a cricket or anything like that?
No, I haven't, no.
Sainsbury's used to sell, packets of crickets for like £1.80, barbecue crickets. And we were talking about that, and she turned around, she's like, not having that, that's disgusting. So then she joined the conversation, and we had all three of us just talking and just having a bit of a natter and whatever. Then we got onto the topic somehow of instruments, and we were like, what's the best instrument to play? And the woman in the far corner was like, I don't like guitars. I'm not a big fan of like electric guitars. And it's just like so random. And
so how many people ended up being in this conversation?
So there was 4 of us in this conversation, just all talking, all going to New Street. And then we got off the train and we all just went our separate ways, and that was that. I've got him on Instagram, so he'll see this, Dixon. But it's so mad how life just brings you these. And I know it's not necessarily related to the transfer of knowledge that I brought up, but it's so mad how life just throws these situations at you. Because I was having a really good day. I was tired, but this is a good weekend for me. It's a lot of celebration. And I kind of thought to myself, well, even if the trains are delayed, it's going to be a good day. And that just made that day even better for me. That made me...
Conversations are so powerful.
Yeah, huge.
And words are so powerful. And it's amazing how much of what we can say can affect somebody in a negative or a positive way. And I think it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that the conversations they're having and the people they're talking to, they're acknowledging the way they're speaking to people, because it makes a massive impact on someone's day. Like you calling me after one simple conversation, and conversations spark so many things. We started this podcast because of a conversation. Yeah. Friendships start from a conversation, relationships start from a conversation. It's just that it's that powerful tool of communication which you can never remove in life. We have to communicate as people. But on the flip side of that, you've got people who, like, bless them, can't communicate maybe because of a disability, or some people can't communicate because they simply don't have them skills, but you can build them skills. But the amazing thing to that is we can communicate in so many ways, with sign language, with signs, with posters. Like, your clothes are communication, like everything is communication, and it's such a powerful thing. Like, ask yourself, the listener, what are you communicating every day to people? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it impacting people? It's just such an important thing to think about. And I've had conversations with you which have given me a kick in my day, or a conversation with someone else you can give a kick in the day. I think sometimes we don't understand how much power we have as human beings to impact other human beings, because we all relate to each other. And conversation and communication is such a powerful tool.
We're all in the same boat, but it's a different storm. Like that's what's always been said to me. We're not in the same boat, in the same storm. We're all on this one planet, but we're all going through different things. And some things are similar to others. But even you going to the same job as me, you'll have a different experience. You doing the exact same role in the job, it's a different experience, because it's mentality. It's motive, it's, your work ethic that affects all these things. I was coaching on Wednesday. My team folded 3 weeks ago, me and Ryan's team. So Ryan's joined another team as an assistant, a year younger. And I've joined as like an extra assistant. So I'll kind of just come down and just do the odd bits. But we all got given a group. And, a couple of these kids, lower ability perhaps. But the one problem I spotted wasn't even the ability, it was just the focus. They weren't focusing. When you're off exercise, they just stood around. So, getting them playing with the ball and just, while I'm sorting something out, and kind of seeing them understand the drills that I was putting out and understanding the intention of what I was getting at was really special. It was really special, because I think I've always wanted to teach, but I don't want to be a teacher. I could not work in a school setting because I don't believe that schools really get the best out of people, just because of how they're equipped. I don't think they're equipped to support kids now. But
be interested to see what my parents think about that, because they'll be listening.
Because, and by the way, because there's people that are listening that are teachers, and that, and I'm not going to dispute the fact that the work they do to develop young people is massive. So let us know what you think. Do you think schools really facilitate the potential of young people? Because I don't think they do. In fact, I want to have a little debate with you about it, because I don't want to go into a political debate, because that's not what this is. But in terms of facilitating someone's potential, it from a coaching perspective. You've not coached the younger kids yet, so I would say that you've coached young lads that they've got potential in terms of if they want to go and keep playing, but you'd probably agree that maybe they're at a point where they know what to do, they know drills, and you teaching them new things. It won't be like big things. It will be small incremental changes for a long-term, improvement. But the point that I'm trying to say is that I don't think that schools give kids a lot of freedom to learn things that they should be learning about. I think that kids should be given the opportunity to be a bit more creative. I think they should have the chance to, they should have resources like this where they can go and talk and do a podcast, or like with me, COVID was the best thing because I wasn't in school and I just made podcasts and I just started doing my media stuff and I discovered what I love. I don't think kids are given the time and the facilities to discover what they love. I think they're told what to like by the school system, and I think they're just given a blank curriculum of what to do and what they like, and I don't agree with it.
See, personally, I feel like I can't really comment on it because, first of all, I have no knowledge of how schools are ran, how people who run all schools is ran.
But your experience as a student...
Of course, I've got an experience as a student. I've been to school as everyone else has, but I can completely agree where I do think there could be other things that schools could be teaching. Like, schools don't teach the most important skills I'd probably say I've had in my life. Communication being a massive one. Like, when have we ever had a lesson on communication?
Public speaking
or anything. You do get those experiences though. You could also ask the question, does the school environment kind of naturally make a person, because there's people out there who will take advantage of opportunities which schools do offer, and then they are experiencing it. There is opportunity there to be taken. I just think I can't comment on the school system because I don't know too much about it, but what I can say is I do think through my experience everything is by the book, and I think a lot of things in life, the most important things in life, are so far outside of a book it's unimaginable. So I think for people who are skilled in certain areas, there is ways to find your niche at school, but it is the stuff outside of school, to be honest, which shapes a person in terms of like where they want to be in life. I wouldn't say there's a lot of things that like you say, there's not a lot of creative output in a school. I think there's not a lot of creative environments. You look at a classroom, it's not the most creative thing you've seen in your life. But like I say, that's my opinion, but I don't know how schools are ran. But it's interesting because me and you don't have the solution to that. But in terms of people being more creative, maybe you as the listener, you could make a conscious choice to, today I did a little thing where I had a sheet of A4 piece of paper and I wrote my name in the middle. And I kind of wrote down the different experiences I've had in life, the coaching, the sports psychology, the marathon running. And it was quite cool to kind of map out what I've been doing with my life and see it on a piece of paper. So I think we do have creativity. It's just about unlocking it. Jamie's phone.
Sorry, that is not cool, man. Sorry, that is not on. I'm not having that. I've just tried to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Not cool. Whoever keeps texting me, stop.
I think creativity is a massive thing for anyone's journey. And I think with the idea of making it, I think everyone goes to school, right? So that's part of everyone's making it journey, and that sort of environment shapes you. But it's an interesting thing, man, where people end up, how school shapes a person. And, I do hope in the future people maybe do open their eyes. I think we need to maybe add a bit more into the school system because it can't stay like that forever.
It can't. It's just my concern. And I am going from my personal perspective. I actually think that school has helped me in a lot of ways because I've made a lot of good friends. And I say that, but most people that I spoke to through school I don't speak to now. So school was more of a learning curve from a relationships perspective. But I feel like I've excelled by having my own time to do what I think is right, which is not the same for everyone because some people need the routine and they need a set schedule.
There's a lot of benefits to school, man. There's so many benefits to school.
I'm not remotely saying that school isn't a good thing. I just don't think that it's allowing kids to reach their full potential. And I think that they're missing the freedom. They're missing the kind of have a bit more choice. Not choice to do work because you have to do work, and schools should set people up to have a good work ethic. But it's more to do with the fact that I don't think they let kids have enough time on break. I think that they're just caged up in this concrete jungle of a playground, and they're just told have half an hour out. And
it's interesting because I wouldn't necessarily say are a lot of kids checked up on at school. Like, there's not really regular checks on how kids are getting on necessarily. Obviously, there's
it's all numerical. Their whole your whole existence at school in this country is based on grades, which is crazy. Where is it? Because they do a report every term on your behaviour in lesson, your grades, but they don't ever ask you how you actually are. You know, they just go, it's a naughty kid, so we'll put him with all the other naughty kids.
I'm sure there are teachers that are, though. And
there is, but
my mum and dad will be listening to this, so please drop a comment on your opinion, because obviously you guys work in the schools. So,
but there's lots of good teachers. But the thing is, teachers aren't paid to also be therapists.
Exactly,
teachers have got a lot on their
job,
plate,
yeah.
so there's a lack of resources problem, which I think is a real concern, and teachers aren't being supported enough. But you know that not every teacher is going to support. I've been lucky. I've had teachers like Miss Mellors. You know, you remember Miss Mellors?
Yeah.
She was great.
There's
to
great
me.
teachers
Miss
out there,
Osborne.
bro.
I've always had
teachers.
good teachers for me that have looked after me. But you know, that's just my opinion on education, because I love the idea of, and I'm so grateful that I had COVID, because even though COVID was a horrible time and there was a lot of bad things that happened during that period of time, it did just allow me to kind of reevaluate, what do I want? I almost got an apprenticeship at Rolls-Royce. Probably, could have been doing engineering now. That could have been my job, just a normal 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. But that isn't me. I've discovered that isn't me. I enjoy doing media. I enjoy talking about football, writing pieces and coaching. I love coaching. The other night when we were at coaching, it was like, I've got 2 more weeks of this and that is it. I was gutted. I felt actually upset. Sometimes you do just have to take time to actually just look around you. Like you always say to me, look around you and be like, wow.
It's only when you come out of something you realise how much you appreciated it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you might come out of something and realise, thank God I'm out of it. But I want to talk to you about the rat race, because that's something that gets thrown around on social media, and people talk about escaping the rat race. And from what I've gathered through what I've consumed, the rat race seems to be a thing where people idolise the rat race as being a 9 to 5, or being stuck in a job you don't want to do, or stuck in a system. Now, I don't completely agree with this whole idea of the rat race, because you see people online saying, get out the rat race, be free, earn loads of money, or, don't do a 9 to 5 and all this stuff. And what people are seeing on social media is shaping their perception, and they feel like they are needing to escape out of something which there isn't actually anything to escape out of. But for me, I don't agree with the way it's idealised and kind of spoken about. But for me, maybe the rat race, so to call it, I wouldn't call it that myself, but that idea, for me, I think it's living a life which you don't feel fulfilling or feel like is true to you, or you're living a life you don't want to be living. Now, for some people, I can't talk because I'm in a fortunate position, but there's people out there who have to work in jobs they don't want to, because they have to fund children, they have to fund their lifestyle. There's not a lot better options, and that's where I think it can be quite insensitive. However, 2 choices. You can choose in your making it journey to do something in your life which you want to do, and do something in your life which maybe you don't want to do, you just find yourself doing it. Now, maybe that's the argument. Are you doing something in your life you feel like you want to be doing, or are you doing something you don't want to be doing? Now, what I want to ask you is, what is your opinion on the idea of a rat race? And second of all, what do you think about people who are in positions who are doing things they don't want to be doing?
I mean, we're all at different points of our life. One important thing my stepdad's always said to me is, you've got to do things you don't want to do. Ideally, I don't want to work doing the 9 to 5 or the 6 till 10 or the 5 till 10 job that I do now, because it's a lot. And the reason I don't want to do it is not because of the times. I'll work all day if I have to. It's to do with the job. I enjoy having more tasks or problems to solve. I enjoy that. That's what I enjoy. I'm a problem solver in the respect of media, in the respect of, something else, making it data analysis, But on a serious note,
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, Steve Irwin, by the way. Get up, chaff. But for me, the whole rat race comment is, I don't disagree that the rat race is a real thing. I think that the rat race is definitely a real thing, because the way that the world is structured is, you are constantly making money and competing with other people to earn a little bit more money every year, for the sake of paying bills and just being stuck in the same loop. It's like a hamster going around a ball. That is unfortunately what life has been set up to be. That's the way that the world works, and it's rubbish. And it's a horrible conversation to have, because I actually feel like there's so much good stuff in this world. But the way it is just a rat race. Everyone's doing the same stuff just to try and make ends meet, and that is the way it is. We're all part of it. You know, our parents are part of it. Them being part of the 9 to 5 is what has given us everything we love and everything we're grateful for. So people who use the NGMI comment, not going to make it, that's what they say, or or you're just part of the rat race. Half of these guys are doing the same thing. It's a rubbish thing. There's a social media persona, and then there's the person. And I honestly believe that there's so many people now on social media that just say things to try and get clicks. But that after that, making that video, the boss is calling them saying, "Where are you? 15 minutes late." And there's no shame in it. There's no shame in having a 9 to 5 job. There's no shame. I don't see why people feel the need to sort of vilify working class people. I think it's terrible. People have got to provide for their families. Not everyone's fortunate to have good foundations and a place to live, like with the parents, or not everyone's, lucky enough to have that. So I think all these people that say the rat race and all this, it's a real thing, but the way that the context in which it is said is a problem. And yeah, I don't like the way the term's thrown about.
Feels like you just got a rant out there, brother.
Yeah, I've got to.
I completely agree, but I think it's going back to the theme of last episode, the constants. Within all this stuff, all the systems we've been speaking about today, which we've not even planned, this has kind of just come about, really. Schools, the rat race, 9 to 5s. At the end of the day, right, in all these things, what are the constants? People. And it goes back to what we spoke about at the start of the podcast, conversations. People will always make the difference, and people will always be about. No matter what's going on in the world, I've got friends, I've got family, I've got people. I can talk to people, I can make an impact on someone's day, they can make an impact on mine. Now, in relation to your making it journey, I guess what I'm trying to relate to here is, we can have all these different perspectives, right? And we can have a job, we can go to school, we can do a job we want to do, maybe we're in a job we don't want to do. But even in those jobs you don't want to do, there's people. And at the end of the day, I think we can get caught up in, is this the right thing for me? Is my life what I want it to be? Or maybe we're always thinking about the next thing in the future. But just as someone, to you the listener right now, look around you. What people are around you right now? Give them their kudos. Talk to them. Get to know them. Because I feel like in this world where we have so many opinions and we have social media where we have perceptions, at the end of the day, no matter what in this world, we'll always have people. So get to know people and connect with life, because it's so important. And just have those and embrace those random conversations, because honestly, that made my day. And I love it. And straight away I got on the train and I ended up talking to some people that have been, waiting and on loads of delayed trains from Preston, and we got talking about where they're going. They're going to watch a concert in, wherever they're going, and it's just amazing. So you do have to embrace these sort of random small connections. I think they're really important. And also, the whole thing about the rat race or whatever we spoke about before is that the essence of life is to survive. That is your primary purpose, to survive. The relationships and stuff, they all come second. Your first thing is to survive, and that's on you. That is the only thing that matters in life, is to survive. And that is what I think that the rat race is sort of based off. The need to survive and the need to do anything to survive. You'll work anywhere. But I think that if you're working a 9 to 5 job, there's no shame. I think the one thing I would love is for everyone to go to a job they enjoy. And it's not always the case. It's not always the case. I just hope that everyone can get that privilege, because the people do make a lot of what you do at work. So even if you're not enjoying the actual role you're in, the people make it. Like, the pub. I love the pub. But I don't want to work in the pub for the rest of my life, of course. But would I love to work in an environment that's as warm, welcoming, and friendly as here for the rest of my life? Yeah, definitely. This is a good place to be. And it's same with gardening. They're all good lads. They're all really good lads. And as I say, all the people from the pub today coming out for my leaving do, and they're all getting dressed up and stuff. So yeah, it's people are important.
People are important, relationships are important, and random conversations, just have them, is all I'm going to say. Have you got anything that you wanted to tell me throughout the week? Anything funny that you've come across this week?
Luckily, the rats seem to have gone. For those who listened last week, the rats seem to be out of here now.
There was literally a rat race in his kitchen. There was literally a rat race in his kitchen.
Not on the funny side of things, but I've got to hold myself accountable because at the start of these episodes, I said that I learn a sports psychology fact every day. And for the past 3 weeks before this week, I was completely off it. Didn't do a fact every day. Kind of happened with my routine when I went on holiday and I came back and I never got back on the routine. So I'm just going to hold myself accountable because that's something I preach. I'm back on it now doing a sports psychology fact today, but for sometimes when we do get out of routine, it's good to hold yourself accountable, but it's also good not to beat yourself up. And I'm back on it. At the end of the day, my life don't fall apart when I don't do it, but I talk about that system, so I'm going to hold myself accountable. But
I feel like you're making a confession. I feel like you're like when you're in church and it's like Father, I have a confession to make. That sort of one. I don't know what I want to hold myself accountable for. Shouldn't have gone out last night. Is that a fair one to make? Oh, I don't know. Well, anyway, I think that's a good note to end the podcast on. It's been a good one. Episode 21. Keep listening. We've got 2 more podcasts here.
A good 2 or 3.
2 or 3 more
before
podcasts in the
Jay's
UK.
off to Aussie.
So we've got a couple more, and then it'll be. This will be the last in-person podcast.
No, it won't be.
Oh, you're still here?
Yeah.
Dan's staying. He's staying. We've got another couple coming your way. But if you can, drop us a follow, listen to Making It Moments, go on the social media, keep doing your stuff because we really appreciate it. And if you're on TikTok especially, because I love the TikTok community, you're all funny. Keep making your comments because they are wicked. I love them.
And if you're a regular listener, I know a few regular listeners, but if you're someone who listens every week, please do get in contact because we want to know who you are.
Yes.
I know there's probably about, on average, almost 20 people that listen to this every week. So I'd love to know if you listen to this every week. I know a few people, but if you know I don't know if you listen or Jamie don't know if you listen, drop us a message because we'd love to know if you're a regular.
Do it. We'd really appreciate it. Until then, take care. See you next Tuesday at 10 in the morning. And Dan, let's go and have some booze.
Have the conversation.
See you later.
Right all night. Feel so right.